stopping here at a truck service plaza, and then we're going on to Mount Crawford, where we're going to stop at a gas station and talk to consumers there, and I'm going to pump some gas there as well.
Okay.
About the high cost of gasoline and what we need to do to deal with the fact that you've got an international cartel that reduces the availability of gas, and it helps to drive up the prices that we have right now. And at the same time, we need to be producing more oil in the United States, oil, natural gas, coal, everything, because doing that would be a boon not just to creating jobs in the energy sector, but it would make the United States, which is already the world's largest oil producer, would make it even more free of these foreign influences, and would make it more possible to create more jobs in the energy sector. I've introduced legislation to allow for drilling off the coast of Virginia. It's passed, it was included in a bill, a larger energy bill, passed the House, and now we're going to push the Senate to do it. We've just this week again passed legislation calling for the permitting of the Keystone pipeline coming down from Canada. It makes absolutely no sense that we wouldn't take that oil from a friendly neighbor, and now they're talking with the Chinese about building a pipeline west of the coast and ship it to Asia. And we've got the world's largest energy reserve. When you take our oil, natural gas, and coal and put it together and add that to nuclear power, we should be completely energy independent. I think we could be in 10 years. And not only would it create energy jobs, but it would also create more jobs in transportation, in manufacturing, in agriculture. And that to me would be the #1 job producing thing we could do, to get the federal government to step aside and allow development on these national lands. And the president says, well, oil production's up, and he's right, it is up, but it's up because the price has been up, and everybody who owns an oil well on private land is getting every last thing out of it they possibly can because they're getting a good price for it. And what we really need to do is to have a massive increase in production that I think would then result in oil price reductions. In fact, when President Bush called for exploration and opened up for exploration in the Atlantic and Pacific coast, the price of a barrel of oil went down $10 after he just made that announcement. So if the people who are buying oil, people who are speculating in oil, know that there's going to be an effort to increase in the future the amount of oil available, I think you'll see some price relief immediately, and long term you'd see a much better picture than we have now.
Oh, we appreciate what you do, Bob. It's and on my end, as an operator, some of the things that I run into, what you find is the price of gasoline, the price of diesel gets higher. They buy the diesel, they buy the gas, but they don't come in and
buy anything.
They don't buy that CD. You know, they're very conscientious about really how much money they've got left in their pocket. And so what we see is, you know, you're turning more dollars, which makes your business license go up. The credit card companies do quite well, because if it's $3 a gallon and it goes to $4 a gallon, you know, they're at 2%. And typically what we find is you've got to have more capital to operate. You know, your receivables shoot up. You know, your cost of inventory is way up, but yet margins, as the price goes up, your margin gets squeezed. And so here we are 30 years after I first got into the truck stop industry, and I make less per gallon at $4 a gallon than I did at 90 cents a gallon. And so, you know, you've got a $4 a gallon product that basically is just a drawing card to get people in.
And then they don't have any money to spend when they get in.
Yeah, and now they don't have any money to spend inside.
So the average consumer, the average family is today, compared to beginning of 2009, just to pick a date at randomly, like when the current president became president and started all this effort to cut back on carbon fuel production, the average family is spending about $200 a month more on fuel costs.
Okay.
Now, if you do that, just think about what that does. They have to do something that the federal government doesn't do. They have to live within their means. They have to balance their family budget, just like you have to balance your business's budget. So if they have to pay more for something that's essential to them, like gasoline, you're right, they're going to spend less on other things. and it shouldn't be that way. And so not only should the federal government open up for more energy production in the United States, but they should shut down a lot of the things the federal government wastes money on, because it is actually contributing to this problem and not helping to grow the economy and create jobs. That's done by people like you in the private sector that are willing to take a risk and make a decision. And if you make a bad decision, you face the consequences of that. You make a good decision, you get rewarded for that.
Right. Well, and you know, our business has been very good. We have to keep on doing more and more business every year to try
To stay even.
To stay even. And I reckon what happens with us is that you know, in the 30 years I've been in business, I mean, we've invested literally everything that we've ever made back into the business. So when you don't have profits, you know, the money's not there to reinvest.
Yeah, you got to sleep in the store.
Yeah, but you know, we've been fortunate that we've made good alliances with, you know, with good people, and that's helped us. But you know, you've got so many small independent operators out there, and I was reading a statistic: 95% of all petroleum is pumped by independents, people that own their own facility. Even though I am a franchise, you know, I still have to make the decisions to pay the bills.
So Petro and Truck Stops of America, those are all franchise.
Not all of them, but there's actually some company stores.
All right,
95% of them are in. The oil companies used to own a lot of the stations, and then they had operators, and the oil companies don't want to be in the business anymore because there's so little profit. Yeah, they can make a lot more money producing oil versus selling it. You know, so they just want to be in the wholesale business. They don't want to be retail. But the same reason that they're getting out makes it harder for us to survive. And so you know, the speculation here drives it up. The credit card fees. I can tell you today that the credit card companies make more money on fuel than we make. You know, and that's a consistent problem. Bob, we appreciate all you do for us.
Well, we got some real challenges in Washington, reducing the influence of the federal government and making sure that the job the government should be doing is making sure that people who are in private enterprise are treated fairly, and that the market is working fairly, and that whenever there's evidence of collusion or price fixing, or one entity like a credit card company has too much market power, the government should step in and make sure we create a level playing field.
Right.
That's the role the government should have, not the business of continuing to add more and more regulations and spending more and more money, and putting the nation in debt the way it has makes it harder and harder for someone in the private sector to get capital and to grow their own business.
And that's kind of an argument that we have sometimes is, you know, I mean, we need the federal government, the state governments to help us do things right. But that's what we really need them for. I mean, we don't need them, you know, literally watching over everything we do, trying to control our businesses. Right. And that's kind of, you know, I know sometimes you hear about, you know, the localities, you know, the mandates and all coming from the state, but that's the way we feel sometimes. It's just the amount of regulation, and I can tell you, you know, literally everybody that's an independent businessman is scared to death over Obamacare and what our health care costs are. And you know, it just, when we look at what the potential of these numbers are, the profits are not there for us to take care of that.
It's estimated that it's going to cost maybe 3 times what was estimated before the bill was passed, and the former speaker was right when she said you have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. So I voted against it, and I voted to 25 times now. I voted to repeal it, to defund it, to repeal certain portions of it, to defund certain portions of it, and we basically got to make sure that by next year we have ended it. Because otherwise we're going to have a situation where people are going to find that the only way to help their employees with their health care is to put them into a government-run system.
Right.
And I don't think people want that any more than they want government-run service.
Well, I think, Bob, you find this a fact, you know, I'm 61 years old now. I enjoy being in business. You know, and I can't imagine retiring. I mean, I just want to do things. but I need to be able to make a profit.
You need to be able to make your own decisions and take your own risks.
Exactly.
And good businessmen will make a profit under those circumstances, but not with higher taxes, higher regulations, and more government spending.
But again, Bob, I just can't tell you how much we appreciate all you've done for us and what you do, and the fact that you stand up for what we believe in.